So, I was working at a 7-Eleven for just shy of a year. The store was a franchise, which means it was independently owned by a Lebanese guy whose IQ was probably somewhere in the 80s. He treated us all like shit, and the only person who made more than minimum wage was the useless clerk. He was cheating on his wife with who, for some reason, made $15 an hour. This guy never did anything by the book. If he thought it would make him more money, then the law didn't apply to him. Nobody at the store ever got a lunch. We were barely afforded smoke breaks, and we weren't allowed to eat while on the clock. In California, when you work more than 5 hours without a lunch, you're supposed to get paid an extra hour's wages, which counts toward overtime. We didn't get that either. On top of that, when he did payroll, he wouldn't actually go by when you clocked in and out. He went by the schedule he wrote. So if you stayed an extra hour or two to help out when it got busy, you'd be working for free because the hours wouldn't show up. Also, your schedule was subject to change whenever he felt like it. There were several times he wrote me up for showing up late because he would change my shift without telling me. So, here's where the trouble starts. Whenever we would take expired food off the shelves, we'd come in the next day and he had printed new expiration dates, tasted them on top of the old ones, and put the food back on the shelves. That happened consistently the entire time I worked there. Well, one day I'd had enough of his crap. I called up the health department and reported him. Then he mailed corporate and filled them in on what was going on. Well, word got back to him, and when I went in the next day, I'd received a complaint and was promptly fired. I don't know about you, but I've never worked anywhere with a one-strike policy. Here's the thing though, since the day I started there I've been keeping records. I had copies of every schedule posted and every pay stub I ever received. I went to the labor board that day and picked up the paperwork I needed. See, when you don't get lunches, and you don't get paid the extra hour you're supposed to, the labor board can force the employer to pay you the money he owes you in one lump sum. So I filled out the paperwork and turned it in. My old boss wasn't so smug when he had to make a check to me for $2,600,000 right after receiving a hefty fine from the health department. Now I'm working to get the labor board to force him to hire me back under the whistleblower clause. If he has to rehire me, he also has to pay me back lost wages for the past few months. Also, my old coworkers get lunches now. Was the revenge sweet? It felt freaking awesome. But that's not why I did it. I did it because that sack of shit was going to keep on exploiting his employees and customers to make a buck and keep being a worthless human being. And I felt like unless did something, he was going to get away with it. I simply could not abide by the idea of him suffering no consequences for his actions.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.